Jump into the car on a Friday night. I wanna drive with you. Looking for a bar in the nearest town. I've never seen a sky so blue. We don't ever play it and the night is young. It doesn't matter what we do. There ain't nobody like, there ain't nobody like. You look so beautiful, and I'm so lucky to be yours. And you're taking me high. Ain't nobody like you. I'm not coming down. Ain't nobody like you. I could go 1,000 miles as long as I'm with you. Yeah, you're taking me high. Ain't nobody like you. Talking about yourself and you make me smile. I can listen all night long. I tell you about the time when I first met you, listening to a favorite song. Walking on the street when you caught my eye. Something about the way you move. No, there ain't nobody like, there ain't nobody like. So lucky to be yours. And you're taking me high. Ain't nobody like you. I'm not coming down. Ain't nobody like you. I could go 1,000 miles as long as I'm with you. Yeah, you're taking me high. Ain't nobody like you. 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 Jump into the car on a Friday night. I wanna drive with you. Looking for a bar in the nearest town. I've never seen a sky so blue. And you're taking me high. Ain't nobody like you. I'm not coming down. Ain't nobody like you. I could go 1,000 miles as long as I'm with you. Yeah, you're taking me high. Ain't nobody like you. Ain't nobody like you. Ain't nobody like you.
Stumbling out of bed, and I still got you in my head. From all those pretty words you said, it's like I'm wasted. Every time I see your face, I'm losing track of time and space. I don't know where I am, it's like I'm wasted. And I won't waste it. And I promise that I will stand by you forever. I can't get you out of my mind. I will follow you wherever. And I won't waste this. I'll follow you, yeah. I'll follow you, yeah. Could you come a little closer now? 'Cause I don't wanna slow this down. My heart is screaming out your name. I'm wasted on you. Here we are, right underneath the stars. So let's get a little reckless. You make me breathless, and I won't waste this. And I promise that I will stand by you forever. I can't get you out of my mind. I will follow you wherever. And I won't waste this. I'll follow you, yeah. promise that I will stand by you forever. And I won't waste this. I'll follow you, yeah. I'll follow you, yeah. I'll follow you, yeah. Yeah, I won't waste this.
Do you ever feel you don't get out what you're putting in? All your hopes and efforts are all in vain. Who will pick you up when you've lost everything? Does it all become for granted with a wedding ring? Oh, there must be more. There must be another way. There must be conscious, different things in different ways. There must be love. There must be a reason, and a little bit of faith has got to come my way. I was just a little girl when my mama used to say, ooh, happiness requires work every day. Oh, and if that someone makes you smile and leaves you with a scar, don't let them tell you what you feel or who you are. Oh, there must be more. There must be another way. There must be conscious, different things in different ways. There must be love. There must be a reason, and a little bit of faith has got to come my way. I give it all to you for too There must be another way. There must be conscious, different things in different ways. There must be more to the reason why we do it all for love. There must be more for a reason, and a little bit of faith has got to come my way. Has got to come my way.
All right, so we are live for the very first time. I am Jeff Boots. This is the Boots Flip channel. I could go into a huge description on what it actually is and why it's called that, and maybe at a later date. But I said I would go live on Thursday at 7 p.m., and here we are. We may have some technical difficulties. We might have some things that go a little bit awry, but that's okay. We're just going to work through this thing. So I'm excited for all you that are here tonight. I really appreciate you stopping out and at least checking this thing out. I'm going to try to not be boring. It's some of the stuff is just a little, it's a little dry. I mean, I got to tell you, it is kind of dry, but what I'm planning to do tonight is just go over something real simple. This is kind of the first live stream. Let's just see how this thing works. If you got questions, feel free to comment. I should be able to see the comments, I hope. And then we will, I'll answer those questions if they happen to come up in my little box over here. I'm running through a different program than YouTube that's actually going out to YouTube. So it's supposed to capture the comments, but if it doesn't, I guess I'll figure that out and we'll make it work next time. So this time I just want to get into box fill. It's kind of a simple one, but there was a little bit of a change in the new 2020 code. So I want to make sure that we capture that a little bit here tonight. And then we'll just get into just a few calculations. I'll put up a couple and let you guys give you about 3 or 4 minutes to try to do it yourself, and then I'll go ahead and do the answer here live. I would like to have been a little better prepared for tonight, but I have to tell you, it has been like it has been crazy over this last week. I will say that if you are in the trade, I hope you're feeling the same thing that I am, that we are super, super busy right now. That's exciting, but it gives me very little free time. So anyway, let's jump into this and let's see how it goes. All right. Well, that was already wrong. Look at that. Started at the end of my slides. There we go. Now we're here. All right, so we're gonna get into 314.16, which is where we learn about box fill. There is some of the wording that is in the code book. I did not include in some of this, so you will need to go back to your code book and look at some of this, because they do talk about conduit bodies and some other things. And I just was like, let's just deal with box fill inside of boxes tonight, just so you don't have to get something else, I guess, in your head and get it confused. So I'm going to start with that. And on this one, I hate to just read slides, but because this is code, we kind of need to just go through this. And so that's what I'll do. So 314.16 is the number of conductors and outlet device and junction boxes and conduit bodies. So what we're looking for here is the number of conductors that we can put in a box. That's what we're looking for. And I teach a class at the community college, and it's residential. So tonight I'm really going to kind of just going over what you would find in, like a non-metallic box. This will apply to commercial as well, but I just want to put this out there that, we're going to be talking about non-metallic boxes and Romex, because it seems like, at least in this area, the only time the inspectors count box fill is in a house. So let's get back to it. Excuse me. So boxes and conduit bodies shall be of an approved size to provide free space for all enclosed conductors. In no case shall the volume of the box as calculated in 314.16a be less than the fill calculation as calculated in 314.16b. So what does that mean? Let's look at A. So now we're talking about box volume. The volume of a wiring enclosure box shall be the total volume of the assembled sections. And what they're talking about here is, if you're in a residence and we're using plastic or fiberglass boxes, generally those boxes are going to just be what they are. When you get into commercial buildings and you're using 4 square boxes, the ring actually gives you a little more cubic inch, And because of that, it is allowing you more space for your conductors for this calculation. So that's what this is talking about. So the space provided by plaster rings, dome covers, extension rings, and so forth that are marked with their volume or are made from boxes, the dimensions of which listed in Table 314.16a, where a box is provided with one or more securely installed barriers. The volume shall be apportioned to each of the resulting spaces, and then each barrier, if not marked with its volume, shall be considered to take up 8.2 centimeters if metal, and basically 1 cubic inch if non-metallic. So I know that's a lot of words there, but I'll get into that. So in standard boxes, the volumes of standard boxes that are not marked with their volume shall be as given in Table 314.16a. You can look in your code book at 314.16a, and it will definitely give you a lot of the different volume allowances for like 4-square boxes, octagon boxes, and the likes, that you're going to find. I think some masonry boxes, anything metal. But like I said, what we'll be dealing with is non-metallic boxes, and those will be actually inside the box. And so it says other boxes that aren't in 314.16a, that are 100 cubic inch or less, other than those in 314.16a, and are non-metallic, they shall be durably and legibly marked by the manufacturer with their volumes. And if you look inside of those boxes, you'll find that the cubic inch is marked inside of that box. So you'll be able to see that right there as you're installing it. So boxes described in 314.16a that have a volume larger than is designated in the table shall be permitted to have their volume marked as required by the section. And that's talking about the other boxes that aren't metallic, or that are non-metallic, that are not non-metallic. So box fill calculations. So the volumes in paragraph 314.16b1 through b5, and that's what we're going to go through right here, as applicable shall be added together, which means it's not one or the other. It means it's all of them combined. So, and then it says no allowance shall be required for small fittings such as lock nuts and bushings, and each space within a box installed with a barrier shall be calculated separately. Which basically means if there is a barrier in the box, then you have to deal with on each side of that barrier as a separate box and not the whole. And you'll usually see barriers in residences anyway, when you're dealing with something like a fireplace or a low voltage switch that's got to go into one side, and a regular switch or duplex receptacle on the other side. You'll have to put a barrier in there because you can't have the low voltage with the 120 volts. So that's what they're talking about. All right, conductor fill. Each conductor that originates outside the box and terminates or is spliced within the box shall be counted once. All right, so basically you put the wire in the box, it is counted as one conductor if it's spliced in the box, all right? So if you were to take a conductor, let's say in conduit, and you were to run it through the box and not splice it, it's still one conductor. There is an exception, but generally it's still one conductor. But if you cut it, now you have two conductors, so keep that in mind. So now they're talking about so that everything will be counted as once, and each conductor that passes through the box without a splice or a termination shall be counted once. And then it says each loop or coil of unbroken conductor not less than twice the minimum length required for free conductors in 300.14 shall be counted twice. And I don't have a slide for that, but the free conductor rule would be 6 inches from the back of the box. So if your conductor is 12 inches long that you're going to leave looped inside of your box, then you do have to count it twice. So you just have to make it shorter or a little bit shorter if you still wanted to count it as one. And then the conductor fill shall be calculated using table 314.16b, and a conductor no part of which leaves the box shall not be counted. Now, here's the thing. I do have a slide for 314.16b, and that does give us the cubic inch fill of our conductor. So we'll get to that here right at the end before we start doing our calculations. So there's an exception with that rule. So the wires coming in. So an equipment grounding conductor or conductors of not over 4 fixture wires, smaller than 14, number 14, or both shall be permitted to be omitted from the calculations where they enter a box from a dome luminaire or a similar canopy and terminate within that box. And what they're talking about is if you're bringing conductors in, like your fixture conductors, and those grounds in there, that you will not count them. All right, so you don't have to worry about those. All right, clamp fill, where one or more internal cable clamps, whether factory or field supplied, are present, a single volume allowance in accordance with table 314.16b shall be made based on the largest conductor present in the box. No allowance shall be required for a cable connector with its clamping mechanism outside the box. You guys will see that, in residential, they do have cable clamps in a lot of these boxes. And because of that, you have to count them. And this is basically saying that if you have a cable clamp that's inside the box, you count it as one of the largest conductors that's in the box. So keep that in mind. That's a rule. Keep that rule in your head. So supporting fittings and fill, where one or more luminaire studs or hickeys are present in the box, a single volume allowance in accordance with 314.16b shall be made for each type based on the largest conductor. Kind of the same thing. A fixture, hickey, or a stud, that's something that is stuck on a lighting outlet box that's made to support your fixture, is what that is. And it's saying if you got one of those, you got to count it as one conductor of the largest conductor in the box. Whoops, went the wrong way. All right, now here's one that you really need to understand, and this is your device and equipment fill. So for each yoke or strap containing one or more devices, so like a duplex receptacle, it's called a duplex receptacle because there are 2 receptacles on it, but it's on one yoke. And because it's on one yoke, then you only have to count that device once. All right? So we'll get into something a little bit different here in just a second. Let's see. So for each yoke or strap containing one or more devices or equipment, a double volume allowance in accordance with 314.16b shall be made for each yoke or strap based on the largest conductor connected to the device or equipment supported by that yoke or strap. So keep this in mind. It says a double volume allowance, which means a device that takes up one space, that has one yoke, counts as 2 wires of the size that is connected to it. So we just talked about clamps and fixture stud and hickeys, and those were one allowance for the largest wire in the box. Now when we start talking about devices, we are talking about 2 wires for the size connected to that device. So keep that in mind. And then it says a device or utilization equipment wider than a single 2-inch device box shall have a double volume allowance provided for each gang required for mounting. So where would we see that? You would see that with a dryer outlet. So a dryer outlet takes up 2 device spaces inside of a 2-gang box. So that would actually be 2 devices. So you would have to have two wires for one device, 2 wires for the next device. So an outlet for a dryer then would count as 4 conductors and not just 2. Even though it's one device, it takes up 2 spaces. All right. All right. So here's one that changed in this code cycle. So where up to 4 equipment grounding conductors or equipment bonding jumpers enter a box, a single volume allowance in accordance with 314.16b shall be made based on the largest equipment grounding conductor or bonding jumper that is entering that box. So that's basically where it stopped in the last code cycle, which our rule for that then basically was all the grounds count as one conductor, not one conductor each, but one conductor. So if you had 6 ground wires in that box, say you had 6 Romexes coming into that box, there would be 6 ground wires into that box. But according to this code, it says that they would count as one. All right, or the last code cycle would be 1. So now here's where the change happened. So it's saying a quarter volume allowance shall be made for each additional equipment grounding conductor or equipment bonding jumper that enters the box based on the largest equipment grounding conductor or equipment bonding conductor. So now if I got 6 number 14s coming in, or 6 14-2 Romexes coming into a box, I would have 6 ground wires, which if we were doing number 14, I'll show you the table in a minute, but number 14 is 2 cubic inches. So those first 4 ground wires together, we only have to put in our calculation 2 cubic inches. But because we have more than 4, those other 2 then have to be a quarter of an allowance each. So let's look back at that. Whoops. Let's look back at that real quick. So let me read it. Whoops, I went too far. So a quarter volume allowance shall be made for each additional equipment grounding conductor. So if I had 4, that's 1, or that'd be 2 cubic inch. And if I had 2 more, then I have to make a quarter volume allowance. So two quarters would be a half. So if a number 14 is worth 2 cubic inches, I would have to add another 1 cubic inch to that calculation. So now I would have 3 cubic inches for my grounding conductors. And we'll get into that. That'll make more sense, but I just want to throw it out there so you're kind of like brewing on that or whatever. So here's our table. And if you look, what we're going to be working with tonight will be number 14 conductors, which in the far right-hand column says they're worth 2 cubic inches. And we'll be using number 12 conductors, which say they're worth 2.25 cubic inches. All right, so that is all I have for these slides. So let's get ahead, or go ahead, and let's do some math here. All right, hopefully this works. This is the first time I'm using this inside of the system, and I hope you guys can see it. So we're going to do something really simple. So let's think about if I have a light switch and I got power coming into the light switch and I have a switch leg going out. And in that case, I'm going to have two number 14, 2 Romex, and with ground. All right, so each Romex that comes in there has the 14-2 means it has 2 standard conductors, and with ground means it has a ground conductor. So there's three conductors in that cable. Just keep that in mind. All right, so we got 2 14-2s, and I have 1 switch, and I have 1 cable, or well, there are 2 actual cable clamps in that box. All right, so let's do this one real quick. So you guys remember right here, 2 cubic inch, right? So we got number 14s, 2 cubic inch. All right. So with two 14-2s, this is how I do it to try to keep the math simple. But with two 14-2s, I would put, there's 2 cables times 2 wires in each cable. That equals 4 wires. Okay? So now I have 4 wires. I take that times 2 cubic inch, and I have 8 cubic inch. All right, so that takes care of the 14-2s. Now inside of that, let's look at the grounds. I have 2 cables, so I have 2 grounds. Well, the rule is I got to have more than 4 grounds to make them more than just 1. So how I do that is I just put in here then just there's 1 ground times 2 cubic inch equal 2 cubic inch. All right, so now my grounds are taken care of. Why don't we look at the switch then? And the way that I do this is kind of the same way as the Romex. So I have 1 switch. It counts for 2 conductors because that's what the code article said. It said that each device on a yoke is good for 2 conductors, or double allowance of the size connected to it. We know that the switch is connected to number 14s because that's the only thing in the box. So now I have 2 conductors because I have 1 switch times 2 conductors. So I have 2 conductors. The size of conductor that's connected to that switch is number 14. So it's worth 2 cubic inch. So that's 4 cubic inch. So my switch is taken care of. Now with cable clamps, according to the code that we looked at, and we can go back there. Cable clamps right here, where 1 or more internal cable clamps, whether factory or field installed, are present in a box, a single volume allowance shall be made based on the largest conductor present in the box. Now that doesn't say for each cable clamp. It says where 1 or more clamps are there, you got to count it as one of the largest conductors in the box. And keep that in mind. I will say it that way just because I want it to always go through my mind that way. So when I look at this, I'm going to say I have 2 cable clamps. They count as 1 cable clamp. So I'll put 1 here. Times the size of the largest conductor in the box, which is a number 14. So that's 2 cubic inch. That equals 2 cubic inch cable clamps. So now I'm finished. So I can add these up. And I got 8, 10, 14, 16 cubic inch. So with 16 cubic inch, generally the boxes that are out there, if you're using the fiberglass boxes, they're like 18, 20, and 22, I think, cubic inch capacity box if you got a single gang box. So this definitely meets that capacity if you have even the smallest box. So 16 cubic inch, that means you can have 2 14-2s and 1 switch in there without having any problems, and you do have a little bit to spare. All right, so I hope you guys are getting this. I hope this is at least understandable. Like I said, I don't see comments coming through, but if anybody's making a comment, but can somebody tell me if this comes through? We'll see what happens. All right. So let's go back. Let's do another one. So let's do one that's just a little bit have a little bit more stuff in it. So let's look at a box that would have I'll just think of a typical box that's got 2 switches in it. And one will be a 3-way switch, one will be a single pole switch. So I'll have one 14-3 with ground. Let's say I have 3 14-2 with ground. I have 2 devices. And because I only have number 14s in the box, it's a given that number 14 is what is connected to that. So I got 2 devices. I'm going to say I got 4 cable clamps. I'm going to make that my writing just not so thick here. All right, 4 cable clamps. And then let's go ahead and write down in here the amount of grounds that we have. That way we can keep track of it a little easier. So I got 1 14-3 cable, 3 14-2 cables. That gives me 4 grounds. All right, just as last time, I'll walk you through this. So I got 1 14-3 cable, and it's a 14-3, so I got 1 cable times 3 wires equals 3. Yeah, that rule definitely is, let me put that up there. So you're asking if the rule for the grounds is only for the 2020 code. Yes, it is only for the 2020 code. It just started in this 2020 code cycle. So, whoops. So I don't know. I'm not sure where you guys are at in the code cycle. We're still on 2017 as well here in Nebraska. And I teach with a state inspector, and he was telling me that they don't think they're going to adopt the 2020 code until way mid 2021. So you guys might be in that the same boat as us, I guess, when it comes to that. So, all right, so let's, all right. So I got 1 cable that's a 14-3 with 3 wires. So that equals 3 wires times 2 cubic inch, because they're number 14. That equals 6 cubic inch. So we're done with that one. Now I got 3 14-2. So I got 3 times, since it's a 14-2, there's 2 conductors without the ground. So we got 3 times 2. That's 6 conductors total, times 2 inches cubed, or 2 cubic inches. So that would be 12 cubic inch. We're done with that. Now we got 2 devices. We know that the devices are connected to number 14s because there's only number 14s in the box. So if I take 2 devices, each device counts as 2 conductors. So that's 4 conductors times 2 cubic inch. That equals 8 cubic inch. All right, and then I got 4 cable clamps. We know that the code says that the cable clamps only count as 1 of the largest conductor in the box. So I have 1 conductor. The largest conductor in the box is a number 14. So I got 2 cubic inches. So that's 2 more cubic inch. So I got 4 grounds. I don't have more than 4 grounds. So because I have 4 grounds, then they will also count as just 1 wire times the largest conductor in the largest grounding conductor in the box. So that's 2 cubic inches. And keep that in mind. You know, the code says the largest grounding conductor in the box, not the largest conductor in the box. So 2 cubic inch. Grounds are gone. All right, now we can start calculating. So that's 6, 12, that's 18, 26, 30. All right, so 30 cubic inches. 30 cubic inches works fantastic because most of your 2-gang boxes, the smallest ones I've ever seen were 32 cubic inch, and the largest ones I've ever seen were about 38 cubic inch. So you're actually able to then to put this amount of wires in a 2-gang box and make it work. All right, so this is a good installation here, and it meets code. All right, so let's go to what I'm going to do here. Is I'm going to go ahead and write one on here, and I'm going to figure this is going to be two three-way switches in a box, and we'll do this one and see how you guys do. What I'll do is I will here. Let me set this up real quick. See, this is one of those things I didn't think of before. Before I started, I had a whoops, I don't want that on. I had a timer set up for you guys to go ahead and do the an example that I give you, but then I realized if I give you the example and I put the timer on, the way the timer was set up, it would black out the screen and you wouldn't have on the screen what you needed. So I will fix that for next time. So let me put this on here. I'll give you about 3 minutes on your own just to see how you do, and we'll go from there. So let's say I got 2 14-3 with ground. I got 2 14-2 with ground. I have 2 devices. I have 4 cable clamps, and I have 4 ground wires. All right, I'm gonna put on a countdown timer. I'll give you 3 minutes, and let's see how you do.
Even when my teardrops start to dry, even when the sun begins to shine again, taking all the advice there is and none of it has helped. Experience has made me realize that I won't build my life on empty words. Being so damn naive, it only hurts. I'm so tired of love songs, life never turns out the way they do. I've been trying for so long, looking for someone who wants me to. I've heard every cliche there is and none of them make sense. I'm so tired of love songs, I'm sick and tired of love songs. I'm so tired of you. Looking back on how I used to be, I always thought that love was made for me. Oh well, I was just as blue-eyed as the sky could ever be. Loving you has made me realize I'm so tired of love songs, life never turns out the way they do. I've been trying for so long, looking for someone who wants me to. I've heard every cliche there is and none of them make sense. I'm so tired of love songs, I'm sick and tired of love songs. I'm so tired of you. I'm so tired of you. drops start to dry. And even when the sun begins to shine again, I've taken all the advice there is and none of it has helped. I'm so tired of love songs, sick and tired of love songs. I'm so tired of you. Ooh, sick and tired of you. I'm so tired of love songs that never turns out the way they do. I've been trying for so long, looking for someone to help me through. I've heard every cliche there is and none of them make sense. I'm so tired of love songs, sick and tired of love songs. I'm so tired of you. I'm driving, you're smiling, just really.
All right, so we are back. Let's see how you did. So we got, once again, two cables times 3 wires in each cable. That gives me 6 wires. And that's times 2 cubic inch equal 12 cubic inch. All right, so I have 2 times 2. So I have two 14-2 cables with two wires in each. So that's 4 times 2 cubic inch equal 8 cubic inch. So that one's done, that one's done. I have 2 devices times 2 wires each equals 4 times 2 cubic inch equals 8 cubic inch. I have 4 cable clamps. We know that counts as 1 conductor of the largest size of conductor in the box, which is a 14 because that's all we have in this box. 2 cubic inches, so that'd be 2 cubic inch. And then I have 4 ground wires. So since I don't have more than 4, I can count them as 1 conductor of the largest grounding conductor in the box, which is a 14. So that would be 2 cubic inches. So that would be 20, 32. Perfect. 32 cubic inch. Hopefully you got that right. Hopefully you were able to whoops, now I got to get that timer. You know, that's some more technical difficulties. But I'll get it. I promise. I promise. So anyway, so now we're I think we're off and running. So let's do one. I want to do one that's a little bit more. That'd be a little bit more difficult. Let's get to that. Let's get to that line where we have more than the 4 ground wires. All right, so let's get there. So let's say I got a 4 gang box. So this is a big one, and this is going to get us a lot extra wires. So let's say I got 3 14-3s with ground. Let's say I have 5 14-2s with ground. Then we'll go with 4 devices. And then let me Believe me, I do not have handwriting. Good handwriting. I should have been a doctor. But then I wouldn't get to meet you guys. So here we go. 4 devices. Let's say that there's 8 cable clamps. And then we have 8 ground wires. All right, so let's go over this one, so that you guys get a chance to take a look at how this works. So I have, once again, 14 threes, so that's 3 cables times 3 wires in each cable, so that's 9 number 14s times 2 cubic inch equal 18 cubic inch. I have 5 cables with 14 twos, so there's 2 wires in each cable, so that's 10 times 2 cubic inch is 20 cubic inch. I have 4 devices. Each device is worth 2 wires, so that's 8 conductors times the size of conductor connected to them, which happens to be a number 14, so that's 16 cubic inches. I have 8 cable clamps, and I know with 8 cable clamps they're worth 1 conductor of the largest conductor in the box, which happens to be a number 14. So I have 2 cubic inches for that. Now, the code says that if I have more than 4 grounds, the first 4 are worth 1. So let's divide this up. I got 4 and 4, right? So I have 1 times 2 cubic inch, so that's 2 cubic inch. And then for the remaining, each one is worth a quarter of the size of wire. So a quarter of 2 cubic inch would be 1/2 of a cubic inch. So I would have 4 grounds times 0.5 cubic inch, and that would be 2 cubic inch. All right, so if I do this, I got 38, and 16 is 54, and 6 would be 60 cubic inch. Make sure I did that right. 20, 40, 60. All right. All right. So hopefully you guys got that 60 cubic inch. A lot of times a 4-gang box will be in the 70 cubic inches. So this would easily fit inside of that. So let me put one together for you here real quick, so that you can do one yourself. So this will be a 3-gang box, and I'll have 2 14 threes with a ground, and I'll have 4 14 twos with a ground, and then I'll have 3 devices. I'll have 6 clamps, and I will have 6 ground wires. All right, so I'll give you guys a minute and let you do this one.
Stumbling out of bed, and I still got you in my head. From all those pretty words you said, it's like I'm wasted. Every time I see your face, I'm losing track of time and space. I don't know where I am, it's like I'm wasted, and I won't waste it. And I promise that I will stand by you forever. will follow you wherever. And I won't waste this. I'll follow you, yeah. I'll follow you, yeah. Could you come a little closer now? 'Cause I don't wanna slow this down. My heart is screaming out your name. I'm wasted on you. Here we are, right underneath the stars. So let's get a little reckless. You make me breathless, and I won't waste this. And I promise that I will stand by you forever. I can't get you out of my mind. I will follow you wherever. And I won't waste this. I'll follow you, yeah. Yeah, I won't waste this. 'Cause no one makes me feel like you do. You make me breathless. Yeah, no one makes me feel like you do. I promise that I will stand by you forever. And I won't waste this. I'll follow you, yeah. I'll follow you, yeah.
All right, so hopefully you guys were able to get that one. Let's check it out and see how you did. So I got two cables or two 14-3s with 3 wires in each, so that's 6 wires times 2 cubic inch because they're number 14s. That's 12 cubic inch. I got 4 number 14 2 wires, so there's 2 14s in each, so that's 4 cables times 2 wires. That's 8 times the number 14, which is worth 2 cubic inch. And that equals 16 cubic inch. I got 3 devices, so that's 3 times 2 wires in each, so that's 6 wires. The size of wire connected is of number 14, which is 2 cubic inch. That equals 12. And then I have 6 cable clamps. We know that equals 1. One of the largest wire in the box, which is a number 14. So take that times 2. That's 2 cubic inch. All right. So with these grounds, let's separate them up into 4 and 2. So with the 4, I have 1 times 2 cubic inch. So that's taken care of. Now, the rest of them equal, each conductor is worth a half of that volume. Then the half of a volume of 2 is, or a quarter of the volume. So a quarter of the volume of 2 is a half. So I would have two wires times a half cubic inch each. That'd be 1 cubic inch. So if I add all these up, I got 12, 28, 40, 44, 45. Okay, 45 cubic inch is what we have for that. So here's the thing. I appreciate you guys being on. We've had between like 2 and 3, which is awesome for not really publicizing this event. And I appreciate you guys coming out. And my plan is to do this every Thursday. I will schedule this from 7 to 8 I would do some more, but it's already 8 o'clock, and I don't want to hold you guys over or keep going on this. But I appreciate you guys coming out, and I will just go ahead and see you next week. And I'll stay on for just a little bit. I'll mute my mic, throw some music on, and if you got anything you want to ask or whatever, I'd be more than happy to go through the chat, or I'll talk and you can chat back or whatever you want to do. So anyway, I'll see you next week.
I've been dreaming all night, bringing me some inspiration.